The ballot is now set in the race for governor this November, which includes Republican Tom Tiffany and Democrat David Crowley, both winning their primary last night and launching statewide tours today to reach out to voters. Coming off a razor-thin win Tuesday night in the Democratic primary for governor against Francesca Hong, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley was at the center of a unity breakfast Wednesday morning in Middleton, where he was asked about gaining the support of Hong's voters, backing her socialist agenda.
We may not agree on everything, but it doesn't mean that we can't come to the negotiating table and figure out how we bring everybody under this big tent. You know, the Democrats, we are a big tent. We should not be focusing on, kicking people from up under, saying that they don't belong within this tent.
Crowley taking those questions just hours after being declared the winner and Hong conceding. But before that happened, Hong addressed her supporters Tuesday night at a watch party in Madison, where she's especially popular with young voters concerned about the rising cost of living and data centers.
Wisconsin, we have built something that will change politics forever. The work we have done will be remembered forever.
Meanwhile, in Green Bay, Republican Tom Tiffany, who easily won his primary, kicked off what he's calling his common sense leadership tour. He also sounded off on his opponent, now knowing it's Crowley.
There's not a dime's worth of difference between the candidates that are running on the Democrat side. I mean, Crowley said that his policies will be basically the same as Francesca Hong's. He doesn't say it in the same way. So those same policies are, they're on tap here.
Tiffany was also endorsed by President Donald Trump during the primary. However, now Democrats are expected to use that against him, making it a race in November that's based on the president's approval rating.